the members. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Rusty to come up here. This is Rusty Welch, and he will be our speaker tonight. He has a lot of experience. Great to see you, Rusty. So this is Rusty Welch. He lives in Villa Grove. He and his wife, Jenny, live in Villa Grove, or just outside of Villa Grove.
Outside.
Outside. And Rusty's been involved in the world of finance for a long time. And as soon as he heard about soil, he wanted to join and be a part of helping us promote it. So thank you so much for being here tonight, Rusty.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Glad to be here. So how did my wife and I get here? She is a farm girl from Nebraska and moved here in 1969 to Colorado. I came from, as you can tell by the accent, from Oklahoma, from a ranch, and I moved here after I got out of the military in 1970. Somehow, after working as a civilian at the Air Force Academy, re-roofing a roofer, of all things, I got involved in finances because I'm interested in how money works. And I always had questions of my parents and everybody else, and they never seemed to be able to give me an answer about how money works. And then I'd get a loan and I'd take a look at things and I'd go, wait a minute. And I'll explain later, that's not 5%. Or, especially with the first car that I bought, being a car guy. We live on a ranch in Villa Grove, about 3.5 miles up, a little ranch. I have horsepower instead of horses because I've got 3 race cars there. So, a bad habit. But I've known Liz for a long time, and so when I got here, I got to meet you guys, and the next thing I knew, I was learning about these zero interest loans. When I learned about that, and I know how loans and money works, I got excited and I said, I got to be part of this. So we joined, and so we're members. And then I got to thinking about what I really wanted to talk about today. And I got to thinking about, we own things, and you can own something, put it on the shelf, and it could be a piece of property, it could be a rental, it can be a nice bottle of perfume, it can be anything, but you don't do anything with it. Or you could take pride in it, and that's called stewardship. And stewardship is very interesting on how that works. And if I think about the art of stewardship and what that means and what that entails, and I was looking at, well, I'm going to be speaking in Monte Vista, Mountain View. I looked it up. So I looked it up, and it started in 1884, 140 years ago. I'm a math guy, 160, 140. And I looked at the first people that moved here after the railroad came through, and we have a Charles and Lillian Fassett, and they opened up the Mercantile Exchange here in Monte Vista. And soon after that, now you had people coming like Henry Taylor, Maurice Pelton, Herman Marsh, and there's a marsh, the park here. So those people left their mark. They were stewards of what they saw. They were forward thinking. They were risk takers. And farmers and ranchers are risk takers. You just are, because you never know what's going to come out the other end. So what do we do to minimize that risk? Well, we learn as much as we can about the risk, about what it is. We have to wear many hats. I normally don't use notes, but this was kind of different, so bear with me as I make sure where we are. So if I look forward to 140 years from now, who's going to be living in your house? Who's going to know who you were? Who's going to be farming your land? Who's going to be picking the apples off of those trees I just learned about? We don't know. Are they going to know who we are? Did we leave were we good enough stewards that we left a mark? Were we forward thinking enough? Did we take a risk? Did we work our you-know-what's off? Hair. So if I look at that and I think about where I am and what I do for a living, the only way to describe it is forensic financial engineering. It's a big long word for me. I got to look back to be able to look forward, because people are creatures of habits. And you take the habits that we've been told, maximize your IRA, your 401k, because you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. Other people's money, go borrow from the bank. So many different things about money and taxes. Your biggest expense is going to be taxes. Every financial dime that you have has a financial institution between you and it, and they're there to make money. How much? So as we walk down the path of our financial life, there's a guy over there taking money every year, Mr. IRS. There's a guy over here, a banker. We have different kinds of loans as far as land loans, simple interest, compound interest, amortized. What do you know about all of that? How do we filter through and figure out what's the best to do? Well, I've had to kind of put some thinking to this. And first of all, I want to say that I come from a premise of nobody has an opinion. It's got to be proven. And if you can't prove it, it's just an opinion. It's okay to have opinions. Lord knows I got plenty. Ask my wife. So, she's being nice. So, therefore, if you have a way to prove it and put it on trial for its life, now you have something that you could take as a piece of knowledge for the rest of your life. My belief, you have to give it away to keep it. That's my stewardship of everything that I've learned. I want to give it so people can learn. Sometimes you might hear one thing that you take with you out of the 7 or 8 that I'm going to give you, but that one thing will help you. So I believe that it comes God, family, community, and then country. And if I look 140 years down the road, I don't see big cities being what they are. It's going to be places out here. It's going to be small, rural communities taking care of themselves. It's community that people thrive in. So, that's why I'm a member of SOIL. Nothing happens quickly. That's where we're talking 140 years. So it stands for Slow Opportunities for Investing Locally. And that's how you give back. They're a 501c3, which means that you give $1, you don't have to pay tax on that, ever. Whereas 401ks, IRAs, you don't pay tax on that, and then they get you in the end. I'll go through that in a minute. So, I love your mission statement. It's a members-based community, a tax-deductible 501c3, building healthy communities through investing for the support of local sustainable food future. We were talking a minute ago about your apples. 4 years. That's a long time. It'll go by quickly, but then you're going to have something. Also, last year we had our kind of a dinner out in the rain and the cold. And it was at the Garlic, was it the Garlic Ranch? What was it?
Rocky Mountain Garlic.
Rocky Mountain Garlic. And they had borrowed money, and now I think they just paid it back this year, right?
Yeah, they to go get some water. They were our first loan award.
Right.
Sorry.
So they were your first loan, and they paid it back, and they built in 3 years, they built a greenhouse. And I'm going to kind of use some of that as an example in a minute. So it's interesting to see what these interest-free loans can do. But people they shy away from anything that's free. It's got to have a tail to it. Well, I want to relieve some of that. So if I were to use, well, I'm going to use a $20,000 loan. Just pick the number. It could be for a pivot. It could be for a greenhouse. It could be for anything that's going to help produce food. Now, I can pay cash. I can save and then pay cash. I can sell an asset. I can spend down highly taxable future dollars, or I can borrow. I can't think of anything else I can do. Let's put each one on trial for its life. So, I forgot something. I wanted to ask you all some questions. I forgot right there. Do you all see yourselves, that's all y'all see yourselves, as business owners, business people?
Oh, yeah.
You have to. And how many hats as a business person do you wear during the month? Can you count them?
10.
And talking to you two, she wears different hats than you do.
Absolutely.
She got the one that says boss, right?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
I'm
passing
labor.
some things.
Yeah.
That's about it.
My wife is smart enough to make me think I'm the boss. I'm not. If God created man as the head, he made woman the neck. So, how do you grow your business? Do you have a business plan? How do you invest in the future of your business? Because businesses grow, you have to, if you want to be here, you have to have the money here to get there. So it's not a curve, it's a boop, like a staircase. And you have to have the money to get to the next stage before you get there. What are you good at? What are your gifts? We all have gifts. We all have unique abilities. If I told you what my unique ability was, I'd be wrong. My friends can tell me, because they know where I shine and where I don't, because there's a lot of areas that I don't and I think I do. Typical male ego, I guess. What is it that you don't know, and do you know it? More importantly, what do you think you know that you don't? That's where you get in trouble. I had somebody teach me years ago this saying, remember it. If what you thought to be true turned out not to be true, when would you want to know? Constantly ask yourself that. Constantly seek out people that know something. If you're in a room and you seem to be the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Change rooms so that you're challenged. So, now having said that, let's take that $20,000 and break it down into what it could do. So, if I've got $20,000 in cash and I spend it, it's called lost opportunity cost, LOC. And in the interest environment that we work in now, you're going to lose about $8,500. Okay, then I'm going to save. Every month, I'm going to put money aside. You have two losses there. Over a 6-year period while you're saving the $20,000, that $20,000 went to $24,500. At the same time, the value of your dollar has less spending power. You have a $9,000 swing, saving the money for the future. And had you had the money and were able to invest in the apple trees or invest in the pivot or invest in whatever it was, you have the profit from that coming sooner. So saving is probably one of the worst ones that there is, but that's what we're all taught. Then, let's see, what's the next one? Selling a non-productive, depreciating asset that has outlived its usefulness. Not many people have that, but there are things out there that people have that are no longer good, and if you sell them, to put into something new and get a velocity of money on that, that can be a good move if you have it. The other one is moving or harvesting highly future taxable dollars. A minute ago I said, okay, maximize your IRA, your 401k, because you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. Your brain says, I will pay less in taxes. It doesn't say that. If you went to somebody like me who knows how to quantify the dollars that you didn't pay in taxes in the 401k and an IRA, you got to defer them. It had to go in the market. You had no control, and every year you fed this monster, and it grew. And now you have X amount of dollars there. You have no idea what you spent in fees and in commissions and lost opportunity costs. You didn't know how to have use or control of that money. And now it's going to be taxed. And now we quantify over what your future is probably going to be and what the tax, not changing the tax laws, which they're going to change. How many dollars in taxes am I going to pay per dollar that I deferred? It's about $9. Why would you want to pay $9, defer $1 and pay $9 in taxes? Because it's the system. And the system lies to you. It's, like I said, in between you and every dollar is a financial institution or two or three or a government service. I got to say this. How many government entities have the word service on the end of them? Tons. There's one down there we saw. A government potato service. What was it called? Anyway. But yet the IRS. Anybody get a service out of the IRS? Well, I was down the road the other day, and a farmer, a cattle guy, was buying a bull to service his cows. And I got it. So, maybe I shouldn't have got there, but I couldn't help myself. So now we have, we can harvest high tax dollars that are going to be highly taxed in the future. And if you know how to put them to work now, where they'll never be taxed again, yeah, you have to pay tax, but they'll never be taxed again, you are so far ahead. So we harvest, and if you harvest money that you've already saved, now that can be a good move too. The last one I'm going to cover is loans and the truth in lending. Truth in lending. So they passed a law years ago saying that when you buy a house, when you buy a car, and you borrow money, there's a thing called truth in lending there. Well, it's interesting when I look at that. Yeah, there's some bigger, they're different than what I borrowed, but that doesn't really tell you what you need to know. So I have a new term called volume of interest per payment. It's 2 8th grade math problems past the truth in lending. And if I show you a $20,000 loan at 5.5%, the first payment is $326. Interest on that payment is $90.34. That is 28% volume of interest per payment on a 5.5% loan. And they get away with it every single day. So, borrowing the other people's money, you would have to make over 17 to 18% on that borrowed money to break even. Who in here is good enough to do that? Maybe the trees. Maybe the people at the garlic place, because they're using their heads. They run a great business. They sell directly as well. I have a client lives in northeastern Colorado. You think it's flat here? Oh my goodness. I mean, there's not even telephone poles on the road there. Or it's just straight. He has several pieces of land. He's one of the largest landowners in the county. And he has 4 or 5 different businesses. But one of them is he takes corn and those kind of things and he distills it and makes a special kind of feed out of it. He's getting 4.5 pounds of gain a week out of these calves. He doesn't care. It's called A1 beef because it's different, which is better than choice, the USDA choice. It's called A1, and he's selling directly to the public. So you go online and you look up and you buy really good tomahawk steaks. How would I know that? I don't know. They are so good and so tender. And so he doesn't care what cattle prices are because he's selling direct. He does have to have a USDA butcher, classified butcher, to do it all. But it's interesting, he can supervise people from another location. So there's ways around that. So the amount of money that he's making is amazing. So there's so many different areas that as you learn, and you guys, I learned something from you about grafting trees and making a hybrid. That's not just planting a tree and waiting 12 years to have a harvest. Other people in here are doing things like that. So be smart. And now, how can you get the money today to do the things that are going to bring you cash flow in the future and not have to pay 28% or have to make 18% to outpace it? Right here. What a great organization to be able to borrow money for some type of food growth, not pay any interest, be able to set your own terms within reason, and now give back, grow. As I was driving down here, I saw some poor farms, and I saw some great ones. I would love to interview them to find out what the difference is. Because I doubt that they're carrying a Mensa, the great ones are carrying a Mensa card. Who knows what a Mensa card is? You got to have an IQ of 140 or above. That's an interesting number. So, and then there's also people that are really close to that 140 and they can only see negatives. What is it about people? If you look to the future, if you see the opportunities that hard work brings you, and you make an educated, yes, you have to take a risk, but an educated risk, and know what's behind it, and have a zero interest loan to help you get there, what does the future bring for you? Are you going to have a park named after you one day? I want to close with this. So I could make it a bald guy joke. I could make it a blonde joke. I could make it any kind of joke, but it's still a joke. So there's a young kid, about 16, learning how to drive. And his dad tells him, you know, if you ever get in a really big snowstorm, get behind a snowplow. 20, 30 years goes by. And finally, it is the snowstorm of all snowstorms. And he sees the snowplow, gets right in behind him, follows him everywhere he goes. 3 hours later, snowplow driver pulls over, walks back around and says, can I help you? And he says, yeah, my dad told me if I ever got in a big snowstorm to follow a snowplow. He says, well, your dad was a smart guy. I guess I want to tell you that I've just finished plowing the Walmart and I'm getting ready to go to Target now. So bright kid, wrong, took the advice the wrong way. So, questions. You probably have lots of questions.
And Rusty, can I add one thing to your
yes, please do.
Your commentary there. Not only will the no interest loan be able to help you purchase what you need today to keep building the development of your farm or ranch, you're not killing yourself physically waiting for that tractor someday where I'm not bending over from 6 feet to 3 feet, day after day picking the garlic or your apples on the tree, whatever. You're saving yourself physically as well because you're getting the equipment you need now rather than waiting and waiting. So that's just
especially when you get to be my age, that's important.
So now Rusty will take some questions. I'm sure you probably have.
And I might defer some to you. Why don't you just stay up here? Questions?
Okay.
Yes.
Let's say that 0% loans are not an option because they're not in all cases. Right?
I'm sorry.
Let's say that 0% loans are not an option because
not an option. Okay.
They're not in all cases. They are in this room that we're in right now. So was it my imagination, or did every option that you presented of what you can do with your money, every single one of them was negative, or did I hear that wrong?
It has to have something to do with growing food locally.
Okay.
And if it has a direct to that, she mentioned tractor. I mentioned pivots, greenhouses.
Yeah.
It could be seed. It could be anything that locally grown food production comes from.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's exactly right.
Can't be the only question.
Well, I want you to come have tea with me because I got a lot of personal questions.
Okay, and that's fine. I did bring my cards, and like I say, my philosophy, you have to give it away to keep it. So any knowledge I have about finances, I give it away. I don't charge a fee.
But I'm sure
I want a cold drink and I want some food. But
Yeah.
And taking that.
Oh, it's just basically I heard don't save money, spend it. And in my case, I think that's probably appropriate. And now I'm horrified to have a car loan and I'm paying 5-something %, But, I'm really interested to dig in to some. Yeah,
I can help you out.
Yeah.
Getting back to what Rusty was just saying, thank you, Jay, about giving to get more, giving to be even that much more enriching for our community. That's what we think about Soil Sangre de Cristo, because we are supporting, community members are putting money into this loan fund. It goes out to our farmers and ranchers. They grow the food we need. It comes back into our community for this fresh, nourishing food, as I mentioned in my introduction, for all of us to thrive. And because of that community thriving, we have more money now to send out to the farmers. So it's what I like to call a financial compost.
Or I call it velocity of money.
That's right. Yeah, but I think maybe this group, using the words financial compost, might click, just because a lot of us do take our food scraps, send them either to a composter or we compost ourselves for the benefit of the nourishment of our garden so we can get better food. Well, we're doing the same thing with money from Soil Sangre de Cristo in our communities. So all that you said is what we are striving for.
And it works. It has proven that it works.
Thank you.
So.
And one last note about Tiffany, now that I have a drink of water, I can talk to you. Tiffany Collette of Rocky Mountain Garlic was our first loan awardee in the fall of 2020. We've been around now for 4 years, so it was our first year, 2020. And she and her husband took out a loan for $5,000. And she didn't tell me at the time, and their payment system was one time a year for 3 years with a balloon towards at the end. And they didn't tell me at the time when we awarded the loan that it made them really nervous to all of a sudden have this loan over their heads. When she came to my office on early December of 2023 to pay the third installment of her loan, she stood there and wrote the check from her checkbook. And she said, writing this check was so easy because of how much we've grown in the 3 years with the support you've given us. We've received the financial support from the community. We feel the support from all the community members just because they're willing to support us. And with that, they were able to get the greenhouse, all these other areas that they were able to finance with these loans. And she said, writing this check for $2,500 to finish off that loan, it's such an easy thing to do now. But it's only to experience it and to know this type of support that you can really feel. And I think that's something that we need to keep helping other food producers understand, that this type of money will help you, just as Rusty was saying, get to that next step now rather than waiting and waiting.
And I'm available for financial counseling, business growth counseling, free food. I mean, so take advantage of it.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I do have one question. Oh. Go ahead. What's the spectrum? So is it all the way from like investing and experimenting to actually producing, or what's the
with the loans?
Yeah.
Would you like to answer that, Brian? Brian is our board treasurer, and he's in the same sort of level or sphere as Rusty is when it comes to finance and all that. So I'll let you answer that question.
So it was what's the experience?
What's the spectrum of like you guys loan to folks to, like is it all the way from experimenting, very beginning phases, or is it?
I mean, some of the borrowers are here, and they can probably tell their stories much better. But
I'll second that.
But it's anything that sort of creates a better or more sustainable kind of local food production. So it could be a glass front fridge to sell local produce out of where the person doesn't have the cash, or it could be biomass, I mean, so the range is pretty wide, but it's to kind of where a bank might, you wouldn't want to go necessarily go to a bank, or you need, so it's pretty wide.
If food comes out the other end,
yeah.
If the end is some kind of food, then it's going to qualify.
At any level along the process.
Yeah, because
a good example is we made a pretty good sized loan to a compost company, because they're like an integral part of the food chain. They take the materials from some of the farmer producers and channel it back to farmer. I mean, it's really just anything that kind of supports the production of local.
now here's what won't work.
Okay.
I want to buy a new Porsche to drive to the grocery store to pick up my food. Sorry.
Yeah.
That would be thinking outside the box.
Is there a compost company?
And let me see, Kari. Oh, there you are.
You had a question.
Well, Kari, Kari's one of our loan awardees, and is there anything you'd like to add to that? Kari's with the SLV Apothecary in Alamosa. Thanks so much for these mocktails tonight, Kari.
Yes, thank you. They were very good.
Was there a specific question, or just kind of adding on?
Yeah, you could just add on to what Brian was answering about the different types of loans we get. Yes, all right, there's that farmer growing food, but then why don't you go ahead?
It was kind of like at what stage of the production sequence you're at, like all the way from the irrigating, watering systems, all the way to helping with harvest and production. Is the whole thing game?
It sounds like the whole thing. I was going to say, before I forget somebody's compost question, somebody said compost in the back.
We talked about it.
Compost Technologies is a really good one if you're trying to buy bulk. We were buying from Caroso, which sells compost, from Dave West. To me, it was kind of not full of a lot of life and very kind of had wood chips, and Compost Technologies was a little bit more composty. So that's the one I recommend.
Well, and Kari, you and SLV Apothecary got a loan for, as Brian just mentioned, this glass front refrigerator.
Yep,
and that's to support all of these local producers down here where they can sell their products. So Kari can't really grow much in the refrigerator, but it's helping to support all these other growers we have down here. So we are fairly broad.
And I want to just add that Kari is one of the only places you can buy local food in Alamos. Aside from Valley Roots Food Hub,
that's great.
she's got local food.
Right.
And that's amazing.
And so somebody can come into my store, and we because of soil, we started having groceries, and we were in a store that was kind of small, but we wanted to carry groceries, and this loan allowed us to kind of get started. And we weren't really qualified to go to a bank, and so I think we got $2,000 something, and we got a little fridge and a little freezer, and that allowed us to sell meat. So we sell local meat and then the local produce, and then because of that, we then now found a new location that has more food storage, and we're in the process of fixing a cold room. You know, refrigeration is a never-ending money suck because once you got it, then you got to fix it. But it's necessary because if you can't refrigerate the food, it's going to go bad. If you can't freeze the meat, like right now, we're limited by our little freezer that we bought, but thank goodness for that little bit of space, because if people can't go and buy the food, a lot of people don't want to go on the internet and go order from the food hub. They're not internet, you know, you want to go to the store, you know, touch your bread, you know? So it's all the way from the farmer to somebody buying a loaf of bread or buying a thing of meat, because we have all these ranchers, but you can't go to Safeway and buy local meat. That's ridiculous, you know. And you can't buy local bread at the store. So we're trying to bridge that gap so that farmers can connect directly with the consumer.